Cowboys placed the 5th-year option on Micah Parsons, and they did it as a defensive end, not a linebacker, according to Michael Gelkin. The salary difference is about $2.7 million. I thought it would have been more.
I would have thought, wait, you would have thought defensive end would have been more than linebacker?
I thought it would have been more of a gap.
Bigger gap?
Yeah.
I would have too. But I would have been thinking it would have been more of a gap the other way. Is linebacker not more than defensive end?
Linebacker is more than defensive end.
Linebacker average salary gets paid more than defensive end.
Yeah. And so they're paying Micah.
Exactly. They're stunned me. That's what I was.
They're being cheap. They're paying Micah less than they.
How does linebacker get paid more than defensive end?
It's the same dumb thing that said when they were trying to pay DeMarcus Lawrence, and they're like, we're offering you top 5 money. And they kept saying, you're offering us top 5 4-3 defensive ends. You are not offering us top 5 edge rusher, because the top edge rushers are TJ Watt, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, like the highest paid guys. And those guys are 3-4 outside linebackers. So they count as linebackers on the salaries.
So if I franchise Micah, is that not taking into play? Okay, so like Bobby Wagner, Fred Warner, are they in this mix when it comes to linebacker salaries?
I can't remember what the split is on that, but yeah, it's like because they play like middle linebacker instead of outside linebacker.
Okay, so it's not just all under the
edge
linebacker label. We're breaking it down into edge rushers.
They should, yeah. I mean, they should. There's been a push from the PA that they want them to have edge rusher as its own like
position,
5th-year option category.
Yeah, it should, because he's getting docked money, and there's no rhyme or there's no difference. There's no difference between a edge rusher that's a defensive end or a 3-4 outside. Like the concept, the position's basically the same. Your job is the same.
I agree.
It's like there's no difference between a quarterback from a job one who is a primary runner versus one who's a primary passer. Like your position is the same.
Yeah, the franchise tag number is also higher for linebackers.
What?
Because it's Watt, it's Mack, it's those guys, and then the top paid defensive end technically is
like Myles Garrett.
I believe it's I think it's actually on the cap hit or the average right now because of his most recent deal. I think it's Eric Armstead. Like that's the type of guy they're trying to pay him like right now. This is actually
so Micah is not going to be happy with this designation.
No, they just not cheated him. They just basically took $3 billion from next year. It's a very Cowboys move.
But they can now go all in with that savings of $3 million.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That is really surprising and really, really interesting.
It's dumb. It's dumb. That's what it is. It's dumb. It's a dumb designation.
It's a winning culture.
League. The league is the one that's a problem here. That's a big problem.
It's dumb from the league because, if you give the Cowboys or another team a tool like this, they will take advantage of it.
You know, I guess it's a smart thing until it comes back and burns you. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, because
I always say to these businesses, man, do you realize the morale increase and boost that you would achieve if you made someone feel justified, made someone feel good about their salary? You don't have to go crazy and overboard and nuts about it, but these types of little things, man, if I had like leverage on the other side, I would, it's probably a fault of mine, I would have my Jericho list out, man, and I would be like, remember when you did that and you were petty with me for $3 million? F you. I'm going somewhere else. I would count that very heavily on the other side, and maybe it won't come back and bite them.
Yeah, listen, this would be far more egregious if the Cowboys were a 3-4 defense and they put him as a defensive end. But they are a 4-3.
Yeah.
And he does play defensive end. Like,
except they've literally never listed him as a defensive end on their own official rosters that they submit to the league. And Steven just got done at Combine talking about, hey, he's going to play a lot more linebacker.
So they file a grievance. They would have one. If everything they have said indicates that he is a linebacker publicly, everything they've said and every place they've listed him as has been a linebacker, they file a grievance.
Why do they list
I bet you he wins.
Why did they list him as that?
A linebacker?
For this? Well, this would get him paid more.
Why did they list him as linebacker on the roster?
Yeah.
Just because that's where he was initially, and he was blitzing a lot from there.
So you're telling me last year, by NFL designation, Micah Parsons would be viewed as a linebacker?
On rosters, yeah. Within media guides and everything else.
So then how is he tagged here as a defensive end?
File a grievance. That's what I would do.
How does that work?
Because it's like, you could be a guy who is listed as this position here. You could be listed as a corner, but if they have you playing what is a pseudo safety, they can then call you a safety.
But they're calling him a linebacker. So he should have had the 5th-year option picked up as a linebacker.
So, but they view it as like, they view it more like your position is defensive back. Like you're a guy who plays both corner and safety, and they just get to pick which one you're designated as. Like if I look at the roster right now, like let me go look at it. Micah Parsons, number 11 linebacker. That's on the Dallas Cowboys website right now.
I would file a grievance.
Yeah, I absolutely would.
I mean, the PA needs to fight for a separate tag number for edge rushers.
I totally agree. It's Capology. $2.5 million less for disappearing and having a podcast. Dock 'em.
It's a podcast penalty.
Sounds like Mike is going to be asking for a trade next year. It's dumb from the player that he wouldn't transition to linebacker like they wanted him to. That's his natural position.
Shut up.
I know. He's an edge rusher. What if Zim put him there? He played defensive end more. Yeah, look, from that perspective, yes, he did play defensive end more. Like that's look, what he has been. But
here's the bottom line. You know what happens in your building. You know the reality of your work. We all know the reality of this. You want to get cute? You want to go ahead and try to, move the goalposts? Okay, fine. We all know the reality of it. You want to try to get away with paying me $2.7 million less? Fine. When the reality really hits with my extension, then I'll make you feel that pain.
By the way,
that's the way I think about it. You want to get all cute and you want to screw me and use semantics? Okay, fine. I'll get the last laugh.
Yeah, I don't view it as like the reality though is that he played defensive end last year because he played edge. Like it is a different type of thing we're talking about.
He's a pass rusher.
Yes, but he stood up. He never put his hand on the ground like a defensive end would. And so that's why I think they're especially trying to cheat this a little bit. And you're talking about the agent.
When you call me a linebacker, I'm thinking of Leighton Vander Esch. When we're talking about anything else,
edge.
You're an edge / pass rusher.
Yep.
Like, and again, fine. Respect for you explaining it, Bobby, and all that stuff. We all know the reality. Let's cut the BS. Let's cut all the crap. We know that man's job is to go get 20 sacks.
Yes.
And that's what they put him out there to do.
Yeah, and that's why, to me, though, it would be, like, for instance, I'm trying to see so like the Steelers and everybody else on those websites, same sort of thing, they will list him as a linebacker. And the reality is because they're an edge. They're a 3-4 edge. And that's why it's weird with this hybrid system that they run. He's not a typical defensive end. Like even when he's playing pass rusher and he's on the line of scrimmage, he's standing up like a 3-4 linebacker would. And that's why they're going to be, I'm certain the one who's going to be irritated with this is his agent. Maybe even more than Mike is. Mike is the one who's apparently like, hey, I'll play for less money even. I can do this. He talks like that. And so he may not care, but I guarantee his agent will, and I guarantee the NFLPA cares.